Our ancestors were great storytellers. They used imagination to understand the world. The world was filled with myths, stories, legends. They can be found in ancient scripts. They can be found in sacred writings. They can be found in oral tradition. But the stories were always about one thing. What happens when things go wrong? It is filled with heroes. It is filled with villains. It is filled with understanding, and it's filled with warnings. Since discovering about the outbreak of COVID, I've become very aware of the story of Noah. The story of Noah is rich not only in warning, but also in hope. It is a story to be found in many texts from the Middle East. It's clear that is rooted in an experience of a great tragedy, a great disaster. And the story not only brings us hope, but also is there as a warning. Religious writings from all faiths are filled with a rich array of the way humankind has tried to understand his world. Sadly, it's only recently that it's become a very, very shallow, superficial science against religion debate. Books of religion, books of faith, sacred teachings were never meant to be scientific manuals. They're always much more deeply understanding our symbolic life. They are filled with symbols, and they are filled with great, great epics. Sadly, this rejection of religious texts and myth has also destroyed one of our greatest gifts, which is the gift of intuition. It's destroyed our ability to understand the world at a much deeper level. Since we've become aware of the outbreak of something that is greater than us and something that has the ability to destroy us, I keep thinking of the message of Noah. For those that don't know the story of Noah and the ark, I'm going to give a quick summary. Basically, God got pretty upset with humankind. He was really upset at the way they treated his gift. He was upset at the way they disrespected the earth, and he was upset at the way they fought with each other. He was upset with wars, he was upset with lies, he was upset with greed, and basically he decided he was going to get rid of this meddlesome, newsome tribe that was called humankind. There was, however, a man named Noah who respected God's gift, who respected the earth, who was in every way a good man. God looked at Noah and thought, well, maybe I should give him a chance, and maybe I should warn him that I'm about to destroy the earth. The story of Noah is the story of the destruction and chaos that is brought about by one of nature's greatest enemies, flood. I've witnessed a flood firsthand, and it is really frightening. We forget the power of nature, and a flood has the capacity to destroy everything in its path. And this is clearly something that was very much in the imagination and minds of our ancient ancestors. The story of Noah is the story of humankind trying to understand why these disasters happened. I think for some reason our ancient ancestors were more aware of the impact of their behavior and later consequence than we are. We've lost that intimate ability to recognize that our search for power, our search for wealth, our search for constant gratification, we have to pay an enormous price in the environment. We are heading for an energy crisis, and we are also heading for an environmental crisis. Not only energy, but water, the air we breathe, the way we pollute the earth, everything has become very fragile. It has become quite unpredictable. Nature has always been unpredictable, but what our ancestors understood is the consequence of anything that they did within nature. I have a great respect for the San people. The San people live in desert areas, and they're areas where they know everything needs to be protected. I found out recently that before they went hunting, they said a prayer for the animal that they were about to kill. They were aware of the fact that they were taking what is really sacred, which is life. This crisis carries a warning, and that warning is quite simply that we cannot go on the way that we have. There is something that has to change. And this is where the story of Noah not only carries a warning, but carries also an element of hope. Noah wasn't left to drown in the waters. Noah was given instructions on how to build an ark. They were very detailed instructions, and anyone who understands the symbols of number will be able to look at the numbers not in a sense of a mechanical understanding of numbers, but a sense of the symbols. To me, it is a story of no matter how fragile it is, that we always have some kind of ark, something to carry us through what might be stormy waters. And this is indeed a stormy time. And it's this construction of the ark that we need to think about. How do we construct our own ark? What is our own ark? When I first heard about COVID, there was a lot of talk about death, and there was a lot of talk about who might die and who might not. I looked at my chances and I thought, whoops, I fall in that 20%, and it wasn't that great. And one of my first thoughts was, oh my goodness, if I die, who's going to care for my animals? And it's always at times like this where we think about what is the most important to us, what is greater than us, what is what we live for and what we die for. People going into panic buying and taking everything that they can find off the shelves shows just how panic can hit us so deeply. But on the other hand, I've also seen people doing amazingly kind things. In our area, we've started a collection for the township animals. We know that the township animals are going to be the first to suffer. And it's in this dualism within our human nature that we have to look and say, how do I decide to build my ark? Even now, I've been so impressed by how those who have so little are sometimes prepared to give to those who have even less. I'm now not so afraid of dying of COVID. I'm more afraid of the economic consequence, and I think we are often feeling like that when we look at a whole economic system fall around us. And to be quite honest, it is a system that is based on fallacies. It's based on a construction that is essentially only 40 years old. When I say it's only 40 years old, I'm saying that we have had an upward trajectory in the last 40 years of a system that is based on continual growth. Continual growth can never happen. It never will. It is absolutely mathematically impossible. It is also environmentally impossible. So one of the first things to look at is the whole fallacy of growth and what is really important and what really matters. Noah was given instructions on building an ark. We are all given instructions on how to build our ark. It comes from our higher power. And I've spoken about the higher power as being the meaning and purpose in our life, something that was greater than us, something that motivates us and inspires us. I think for most of us, we will find this is a time where we think of family, when we think of those who are vulnerable, where we think of children, where we think of the next generation. A lot of what is happening today is because we have been living off the next generation. We've been living in an age of debt, we've been living in an age of credit cards, and when it comes to the environment, we're looking at something where we have created a system that our own children, grandchildren are going to struggle with. It is a time where we think about how are we going to build our ark? How are we going to build a fragile little human construction in what is essentially a very frightening storm? But our human construction is not necessarily built from what is concrete. It is built from what is far deeper, and this is where we have to learn to think on a symbolic level. What is really important to us? I think for most of us we will say family, and it really is family that is the center of most of our desire, our love. It is what really motivates unselfishness. So I'm looking at the story of Noah and the story of the ark and the story of hope in the rainbow, not from a perspective of religion, but from a perspective of a deep myth that deals with human nature and deals with a need to develop a more hopeful relationship with the future. And that future is recognizing and respecting the role that the environment plays. Thank you very much.